Эгегей, друзья, всем привет, с вами я, Чебурашка, и сегодня мы с вами погрузимся в мир полнейшей шизофрении и собственной свободы выбора, или наоборот, не выбора, а точнее в игру Stanley Parable. Давайте с вами начнем. Собственно, эту игру я увидел у Блэка и захотел сам в нее поиграть. И давайте с вами посмотрим, о чем эта игра. Сейчас нам в самом начале расскажет, о чем эта игра, и мы с вами послушаем. О, господи, надеюсь, у вас сейчас все нормально, потому что меня сейчас жестко пролагнуло и снова залагнуло. О, господи, надеюсь, все нормально. Да-да-да, все нормально, все отвисло, все отлагало. Замечательно.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in. Though he had been made exactly
Забавно, то есть обычный офисный планктон.
was happy.
Ну, это показывает, отображает, собственно
And
говоря.
then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions.
Давайте с вами пропустим. И, собственно, как я понимаю, эта игра Stanley Parable отображает, как бы, такой, я не знаю, какие-то реалии нашего мира. И не знаю. Давайте сами, знаете, что попробуем сделать? Закрыть дверь.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for
А выйти
that.
можно?
No.
Как
This
выйти?
couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would have.
Что происходит, господи? Я просто закрыл дверь.
Now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do.
Как-то я думал, что мне рассказывают, что она более упоротая. Как-то она сейчас немного грустновата, я бы вам сказал. Что происходит? It's never end. Это никогда не закончится. Ладно, поехали.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Я выключил компьютер.
Не
мог найти ни следа своих коллег. Так, ладно, идемте дальше. Ладно. Что у нас тут? Давайте тут что-нибудь. Опа, я что-то ввел. И что? Опа. А, это дверка. Что это я только что нажал? Так, давайте с вами еще покликаем. Что-то по клавиатуре я пожмакал. Забавно. Так, дверки тут открываются. Опа.
Oh, and I guess this is where Stanley felt he needed to
Что?
be right now, in this little hallway, here, with no distractions, to study room 417. Not to actually enter it. No. That would be far too forward. Stanley wanted to know it from the outside.
Лол, что
To see
происходит?
it not just with his eyes, but with his heart. He would know room 417 as no man or woman had ever known an office before. That ladder over there. Oh, and that little picture of a horizon or something. It's all just a never-ending parade of joy for Stanley.
Я, конечно, слышал то, что эта игра, она так сделана очень круто, но знаете, то есть она полностью от случайных событий зависит. Вау.
Ah, no, apparently not.
Что? Ладно. А сюда? Ладно.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Ладно.
he entered the door on his left.
Пошел в дверь слева. Моя эта дверь открывается? Нет. Ну, пойдемте налево. Надеюсь, она тоже не за... Ладно, едем дальше. Эта дверь тоже не открывается. Может быть, это? Или это? Пам.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Ну и тут никого не
Feeling a
было.
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
Так, простите, это у меня
He might
ВКонтакте
find
был.
an answer there.
Я решил подняться в кабинет начальника. Тут ничего. Так, это что? Почему дверь за мной закрывается? Это открывается? Окей, давайте зайдем.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Почему? Я зашел в чулан.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet.
Если
No reason
игра
to still be here.
не хочет, чтобы я здесь был, значит, возможно, здесь есть что-нибудь. Давайте с вами покликаем, что ли.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to
Тут
interact
по-любому
with,
что-то
he'd be
есть.
justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing
Что?
there doing sweet FA.
Какого? Я не хочу уходить.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Так, давайте тут еще посидим. Мы его, кажется, злим.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out.
Ах,
It
лол.
didn't even occur to me because
Well,
literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Давайте еще посидим.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you
О,
get
а
the
ты
broom
получил...
closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite."
Ах,
Your
лол.
friends find this concerning.
Что, тут есть какая-то ачивка? Я
Stanley
обязан
was
тут.
fat and ugly and really rejected. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That
Слышь?
with drug money. Also, Stanley's addicted to drugs and hookers.
Ох,
Well,
лол.
I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. We got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and we're just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapse on the keyboard.
На
In
клавиатуре
a
стоп.
situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of
Lol.
before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby, the person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Не хочу. Это все? Ладно, поехали. Второй игрок. Чаек. Едем дальше.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Я не хочу наверх. Если у меня есть выбор, я хочу спуститься вниз. Дверь закрыта. Спускаемся. Хочу что-нибудь подобрать. 11-12.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He
Что?
considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my coworkers blinking mysteriously out of
Что происходит? Господи, где я?
None of it made any logical
Боже мой.
sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example,
Например,
why
почему они...
couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Что?
Why did
Что за
doors
бредятина?
close automatically behind
Да,
him
почему двери?
wherever he went? And for
Что
that
за
matter,
пики?
these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Что происходит,
No,
господи?
Stanley said to himself, this is all too
Игра
strange,
меня
this can't be
пугает.
real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his
Что
tongue.
происходит?
He just hadn't found the words for it.
Господи, что
I'm
происходит?
dreaming!
Да, я сплю.
He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt.
Что
to have finally
происходит,
found an
господи?
answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone.
Что?
He wasn't going to lose his job.
Что
He
в этой
wasn't
игре
going
сейчас
to be
происходит,
outlawed.
ребята? Объясните мне
Thought to
хоть
himself,
кто-нибудь.
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while
Что за
I'm still
пиканье?
lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to
Что
gently float above the ground.
Что происходит?
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it
Боже
too
мой,
appeared.
что
It was so
происходит?
much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had
О,
still not
Господи.
woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Что происходит?
Now the voice
Серьезно?
was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts. he thought.
Что?
And while he thought it all
Не,
paid
ребята,
off,
это надо
and
обмозговать, я
while
вам
this voice
серьезно
was
говорю, это ни
all
хрена не
their
смешно.
dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not
Это
a
же
dream.
не
How could it
хоррор.
be? Was
Что за
Stanley simply
звуки?
deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself?
Что
Stanley is
происходит?
as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Реально, что происходит? Что
Что
происходит, господи? Моя психика, голова, что происходит? Что
He would
происходит?
prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
Да, это сон, просыпайся, чувак.
And he invited himself to wake
Ты
up.
куда? Что про...
He
А,
felt the cool
Что?
weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself.
Что?
I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please.
Что?
It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
Что?
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Что? Все классно. Едем дальше.
Stanley began screaming. Please,
Что
someone wake me up.
что
My name is
происходит?
Stanley. I have a boss. I have an
У
office.
меня есть
I am
офис,
real.
Что,
Please,
почему у меня все
someone
краснеет?
tell me I am real. I must
Что?
be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice?
Что
Who am
происходит?
I?
Господи, голова.
And
А,
everything
музыка.
went black.
А.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Что? Это вообще к
Mariella
чему?
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man
Что
who had stumbled through town
происходит?
talking and screaming to himself, and then
Что?
collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And
Мы
although she had
умерли?
soon turned to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane.
Что?
I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this
Что?
man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Боже, что происходит? И что... Что? Ох, ладно. Давайте с вами продолжим в следующей серии, а пока что давайте с вами закончим. Всем спасибо за просмотр, с вами был я, Чебурашка. Подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайки, оставляйте комментарии. Это была игра Stanley Parable. Сегодня мы с вами дико упоролись, это был первый взгляд. Пишите, если хотите продолжение, и всем пока, всем удачи.